Hey. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, another rousing episode of Urban Politics. I'm hoping this is finding you in good health wherever you're at. I'm your humble host, Phys Ed Music. Once again, this is Urban Politics, where politics lives. We're going to get right into it like a car and drive because we got tons and tons and tons of politics to deal with this week. Check me out, ladies and gentlemen. First thing first, I wanted to deal with something that's near and dear to my heart. I've worked with young people for my entire adult life, probably since I was 25 to now. I'll be 45 next month. So all those years have been spent working with youth anywhere from ages 2 to 25. So I've been working with the youth my whole life. So that's a little background about me. If you watch the show, you know that I've been working with kids for a long time, dedicated to the youth. I'm definitely one of those people who just want to see the next generation do well. So that's what I'm going to lead this show off with. I want to talk about what the kids are up to. What are the kids doing? And I want to talk about teen depression. It's a real thing. Those of you out there with teenagers, we're going to go over some things here, and I want you to be thinking about these things. And then, afterwards, I want you to maybe go and have a conversation with your teenager and ask them about some of this stuff. See where their heads are at. I'm always talking to my kids and trying to find out, what's going on with them and whatnot. And, what I'm saying, I'm not going to lie. They're not always forthcoming with everything that's going on in their lives. But as a parent, you have to seek to know, because when they're in trouble, you want them to feel comfortable coming to you. You see what I'm saying? So with that said, let's go ahead and get right into this, like I said, like a car and drive. Check me out. Teen depression has risen in the past 10 years. Most boys and girls view mental health as a major issue. Of 11,000 teenagers from 13 to 17. So they surveyed, 11,000 teenagers from ages 13 to 17, and they found out that anxiety and depression are major issues for their peers. So they were asking these kids, what are some issues for your friends, your peers? But you know how that goes. I got a friend such and such. It's probably usually a reflection of yourself. So anyway, so they asked these kids about their peers. Only 55% thought bullying was a concern. 51% thought drug addiction, and 45% thought drinking alcohol was a concern. So a lot, that's something, isn't it? It's interesting that only 55% thought bullying was a concern. That's still over half, and 51% were saying that drug addiction, and 45% were saying that alcohol or drinking alcohol was a concern of theirs or whatever, which is interesting because I can remember these being some concerns when I was in high school too. Said mental health was a main concern across gender, racial, and economic divisions. That's interesting. From 2005 to 2014, depressive episodes increased in children ages 12 to 17 from 8.7% to 11.3%. They were saying that the pressure to get good grades affects more than others. 60% said that they felt pressure to get good grades. 29% say that they felt pressure to look good. And 28% said that they felt pressure to fit in socially. That's interesting, isn't it? How those numbers have bounced around, Said less than 10% felt pressure to be sexually active or use drugs or drink alcohol. That's interesting. I remember when I was in high school, that was the big thing, kids being sexually active. We had a whole lot of teenage and pregnant mothers. So, they were really on that, saying that was an epidemic, so to speak, in the high schools. But it seems that there's been a shift. And the kids said they only feel 10% pressure to even be sexually active or use drugs or drink alcohol. That's interesting. That shows a change in the youth. We're going to talk about that later. Half of teens say they plan to go to college, with 61% of them being girls and 51% of them being boys. Always like that. There was always more women than men in college for whatever reason. Well, for a number of reasons. I think it's cool for a girl. It's usually, things are changing now, but usually, especially in my day, it was cool for a girl to be smart. A guy wanted to be tough. He wanted to be hard. To do all that, you're not going to be too good in school because you're going to be getting in trouble and stuff like that because you want to look hard for these ladies. So it's good that that's changed. They say it's more socially acceptable to talk about these issues openly. And that's been a shift in society. I'm glad to see that. In the black community, in the young community, in every community, people are a lot more comfortable talking about mental health and mental health issues. A piece of that is probably because usually when there's a shooter out here and they happen to be a certain complexion, they always go right to must have been a mental illness. And a piece of that is usually true. So that's been coming up a lot more. It's a lot more prevalent. So you have people going there and talking about it, this mental health and how it impacts people's daily lives. So there's that, and that's good. And people are talking about it more. There was a time when talking about your mental illness or your mental health issues was a sign of weakness, or people would talk about you, or it was something to be ridiculed or ostracized. Those days have kind of went away. There's still some people on that, and that's sad. But I think society as a whole is coming around to the fact that mental health is just a part of health, and we all want to be healthy. So there's that. They say competition comes on quicker, thus undermining childhood. There's another good point. We're not allowing our kids to be kids anymore. Things are so competitive these days. I remember watching a documentary called, what was it called? Waiting on Superman, where it was just about all these kids trying to get into this real expensive private elementary school. This school was like $15,000 a year. This is elementary school. I think these kids were going into 3rd and 4th grade. It was $15,000 a year for this school. But they had a waiting list, and that's what that documentary is about. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really good. I think that's what it's called, Waiting on Superman. And it just shows the story of these 4 kids from different backgrounds trying to get into this school, and most of them make it, but some of them don't. It's really good, but it's interesting how their parents are standing in line to spend $15,000 to get them in this school. Why? Because education's important, and when you give your kids that cutting edge in the beginning, people feel like that's something they'll maintain throughout life. I have friends of mine who went to Ivy League schools. They're doing really good right now. Does one correlate to the other? Sometimes, most times. I have friends who went to these Ivy League schools. They're no more successful than I or anybody else. But then I have friends who went to these Ivy League schools, and they have what a lot of people would consider a prestigious and a high-profile job. So it is what it is, But a lot of people feel like they need to give their kids that cutting edge, and they need to do it early. So there's that. Kids are spending more time doing homework and less time socializing. Kids 15 to 17 spend an average of an hour a day on homework versus 45 minutes 10 years ago and 30 minutes in the 90s. Now, when I heard that, I kind of chuckled because I thought, in the 90s, I was going to school. I graduated in 1995. And you know what kept me from doing homework? 91, 92, 93? Sitcoms. We had some really good ones, right? Some of those early 90s sitcoms are still some of the most watched things on Netflix. See what I'm saying? So I think that had something to do with it, because I can remember there's plenty of times I should have been doing my homework and I was watching a sitcom, that was on. And there's so many, I'm not even going to name them, but you know what they were, because a lot of y'all still watching them like I still watch them from time to time. There was some good TV on in the early 90s. So that might have been why, not as much homework was getting done. They were saying socializing fell by 16 minutes per day compared to a decade ago. So 10 years ago, kids were socializing 16 minutes more than they are now due to competition. I hear that. And these kids, I guess some people say it's good. Some people say it's bad. I think it's a good thing, especially with my sons. They've correlated education and grades to money. So they see that direct line, so they're on it. They're like, the more I learn, the more I learn. That's just smart. I mean, I wish I had internalized that quicker, but I did not. So it is what it is. But I'm glad to see that the youth are on that. Some of them anyway. So 95% said that they want a job that they enjoy. That's interesting. 51% said that money was not the most important thing. Or I'll take that back. 51% said that money was the most important thing, which was consistent no matter their household income. So what that means is you got kids who have parents who are rich. You got kids who got parents who are poor. So some of these kids are living a poor life. Some of these kids are living a rich life. Across the board, all these kids said, I want a job that I like. I want to wake up every day doing something that I enjoy. Not all, Not all, 95% said that I want a job that I look forward to going to every day. That I'm not counting the minutes till I'm getting off work to get the HE double hockey sticks out of there. I feel that. 51% still said it's all about the money. Still don't nothing move but the money. Rakim told you that. So we always gonna have some youngsters, always gonna have some young people, always gonna have some people, period, who are like, nah, I need the bread in my life. So whatever brings in that bread, I'll do it. Doctor, lawyer, astronaut, whatever you got, I'm smart enough to do it and I'm gonna do it and get paid. I ain't mad at that either. You know what I'm saying? We need people like that too, our go-getters. You know, all these young people are go-getters. I'm happy to see that a lot of them have got it in their mind that, hey, I got to do something. I want to make sure I do something that I enjoy. When I was a job developer, I did that for 15 years. Basically, I got kids from ages 14 to 25 jobs in the community. At one point, I worked with an agency. We worked with every high school in Columbus. When I used to work at a school called Alum Crest. It's called Columbus South Scioto now. We worked with all types of employers, whoever I could find who would work with these kids, you know what I'm saying, who had, questionable backgrounds or whatever, but was able or was willing to give them a chance, you know what I'm saying, to get their feet wet in the world of work out here. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I know that's important, and I'm glad to see that kids are thinking to themselves, I'm going to have to grind all my life. Let it at least be a grind that I love. Let it at least be something I'm dedicated to. Let it at least be something I look forward to doing every day. I remember a skit from Chris Rock where it's a little bit that he would do in his comedy set where he talked about, he said, have you ever had, he said, now I have a career. I used to have a job. He said, I have a career, so I wake up every day excited to get to work. There aren't enough hours in the day. Sometimes I'm working and I have to tell myself to quit because I love my job so much. I just want to keep doing it. He said, when you know what I'm saying, that's a career. He said, when you have a job, he said a job is something you hide from. He said, I can't remember having jobs so bad that I went to the bathroom and pretended to be sitting on the toilet just so I could get away from this horrible job that I was doing. I've been there. I know what that's like. I'm not there anymore. Praise be to God for that. But I've been there. I know exactly what that's like. So if you've been there and you know what that's like, you should also take heart in knowing that the young people have been paying attention, and a lot of them have seen a lot of their parents going to jobs that they hate just because they had bills to pay. And I always used to tell the kids, don't let life does that to you. Don't let it back you in a corner. That's what happens. You go through your life. You never really have any direction. You mess around and have kids and have responsibilities. Now you got bills to pay, and now your back's against the wall. Now you got to do something. So now you're working at a warehouse, or you're working wherever you can get a job just because you got these bills to pay, and you get stuck in that rut. You don't want to do that. I used to always tell the kids, have a plan for yourself. Go to school for a career, a job, something you're interested, something you're going to be, something you're interested in, something you're going to be passionate about. And, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have a lot more fun in this thing called life. Right here, buddy. Ain't made all the money in the world, but I have a great time in my job. I really, really, really enjoy what I do. And I help people. I've always been about doing that, and I help people in a major way these days. I've always, helped people this whole career with kids, but I still work with kids. I help them in a major way these days. So that is good. Kudos to the young people for that. Moving on, let's talk about our president. This is Urban Politics. Let's talk about the politics of the day. Joseph Biden, my dude, Joe Biden. He signed an executive order on the White House task force on worker organizing and empowerment. I like it. It will be dedicated to mobilizing the federal government to empower workers to organize and successfully bargain with their employers. That's huge right there. That's huge right there. What that is the government investing in unions. Unions most often help workers. Now, I talked about unions. It probably was the last show or show before that. It was one of those. But I've talked about unions before on this show. They can be good. They can be bad. There's pluses. There's minuses. I do think there's more pluses than there are minuses. Once again, if you disagree with that right now, you know what I'm saying? If you in a union and they're like, hey, man, it sucks. Give me some pushback, man. Hit me up. You know what I'm saying? You know the website, physedmusic@gmail. You know what I'm saying? Hit me up and let me know that you disagree. You say, I'm in a union and it sucks. But most often, I've found unions to help workers. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that the government is investing in unions and workers having a voice and having some rights. Because this is America, and usually corporations have more power and more money than anybody. Apple, some of these other corporations, they got more money on the books than the federal government. That gives you a lot of power. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Amazon, come on, man. Bezos, he got all that money over there. Don't tell, he got a lot of power, okay? A lot of power. Well, not even he didn't step down. So his board, the people running things over there at Amazon, got a lot of power. So we got to have these unions to give our workers a voice, okay? Unions are the reason that you have a 40-hour workday, and that if you work 1 second over 40 hours, then you get what they call overtime or time and a half. You could thank a union for that, okay? Like I talked about when I worked at UPS, people there used to go on and on and on about the healthcare plan. Oh, they loved it to death. They said something's wrong with you. You go to the doctor, throwing medication, the best medicine in your hands. You know, me and my wife went and had 3-4 babies for free, thanks to this great health care that we have. Through our job, unions do that. So unions help people. So that's a positive thing that the government is investing in unions. So I wanted to just add that footnote there and talk about that. So that's big progressive stuff that your president's doing there. So I got to give the man kudos. You know what I'm saying? I give credit where credit is due. Moving on. I want to talk about something sad, but something we should all think about. Something that should be paramount in the mind of our elected leaders. A lot of times it's not. But let's talk about it. Poverty in America. Still plenty of it. Poverty soared to an all-time high last month. It hit a pandemic high of 11.7%, a full percentage point greater than it was in 2020. Black poverty was down, but only by 21.2% from 23.3%. Childhood poverty was up to 17.4%, as well as 22.2% for those with a high school education or less. January and February, the poverty rate was 10.7% in January and in February of 2020. Poverty rates for black, take that, let me read that right. January and February, the poverty rate was 10.7%. In January and February of 2020, poverty rates for Black America was 20.7% and only 8.9% for white Americans. I'll show you the parallel. Poverty rate for people with no education was 19.6% in February. The CARES Act legislation signed and passed by the Democrats, signed by Mr. Joseph Biden, and other stimulus programs were instrumental in keeping families out of poverty. It shows how bad the pandemic has been to the economy. That after the government programs stop, aid will still be needed because the jobs have not come back. And I almost put not come back yet. That was me in my mind thinking that the jobs have not come back yet, right? But when I read the article, it didn't say that. It said the jobs have not come back, period. That's the point, ladies and gentlemen. When I was reading this, I was like, yeah, don't let that be missed on you, bruh. Feel that. The jobs have not come back, period. Some of them are never coming back. Some of these restaurants are never going to reopen. Some of these places of business, they've had a real good time lately because they have everybody, working from home remotely. They've gotten rid of some of their brick and mortars. That's a light bill, a gas bill we don't have to pay now because we don't have people coming to some building to do some job. Now they can do it from their house with a laptop. Maybe go somewhere and charge their laptop, charge their cell phone, and go meet a client somewhere. But we don't have to have all these people in a building sucking up resources. Now they can sit at home and we can pay them to do that. So some of that stuff's just never coming back. Pandemic has changed a lot of jobs forever. It's gotten rid of a lot of jobs forever. So they talked about that. You know what I'm saying? They said, the jobs have not come back. Some of them will never be back. The jobs will not come back. Study shows that U.S. poverty levels increase after stimulus payments expire. So once that stimulus runs out, people go back to being broke. Well, duh, that's coming. Poverty actually dropped during the pandemic to 9.1% in May. They said this was because of the $1,200 stimulus and the $600 extra in unemployment income on top of state benefits. Different people were impacted in different ways. Some could work from home. Some in the hotel industry and in the restaurant business lost their jobs completely. Yes, that's true. Like I just said, a lot of those jobs aren't coming back. Even if you run a hotel and you're not going to be able to have as many people in that hotel, ergo, you're not going to be able to have as many employees in that hotel. You run a restaurant and you're not going to be able to have, you got a restaurant that seats 200 people, you could probably have 100 now, maybe less than that because everybody got to be social distancing. Ergo, you're not going to have the money to pay a bigger staff. There's that. Joblessness claims are still being filed at 5 times. A higher rate than before the pandemic. Think about that. 5 times a higher rate. So there's still tons of Americans out there who do not have a job. And sure, they're getting these benefits. And sure they've been getting these stimuluses. But what happens when the well runs dry? And at some point, it's going to run dry. Heck, a lot of people were, they were making jokes about it. They were talking about it. But this stimulus, for a lot of people got that. And all they were able to do was get caught up. Maybe get caught up. A lot of people got that stimulus money and are still extremely far in the hole. So there's that. They say the economy is doing well because the government supported middle and lower class people. They are your biggest consumers. Exactly. They giving this money to what? Middle class people who make under a certain amount of money, who have children. All they going to do with that money is get it and spend it on bills, spend it on necessities. People got to eat. You know what I'm saying? People got rent to pay. People got to live out here. So that's all they're going to do is spend it on living. So it goes right back in the economy like they wanted. You on Facebook and stuff like that, you see over here people talking about how they feeling the stimmy. Some people done went out here. Some people have saved their money and they got enough money to go put that down payment on that house. Some people save their money and they're able to get that extra car that they wanted to get for their teenager, or just get that car that they needed, period, because their car sucks and has been going out and they need a way to get back and forth to work now. That stimulus has helped that. That's cool for right now. But you know what I'm saying? What happens next year? Heck, what happens in 5, 6, 7 months? We're right back where we started, if not worse, because all that money is a Band-Aid on an open gash that is the pandemic, or what it has done to the economy. So there's that. The Wharton School, which is a big fancy school that does studies and stuff, found that Joe Biden's infrastructure plan would reduce U.S. debt by 6.4% in 2050. Joe Biden proposed raising rates. How are we going to pay for all this? He wants to raise rates 39.6% from 37% for the top income earners. So capital gains rates of 39.6% for people with incomes over $1 million. Come on, man. If you make it over $1 million a year, 39.6%, that is what it is. But come on, I think you can pay that. I think you're gonna be all right. I'm sorry. You make it over $1 million a year, I think 39.6% is gonna be okay. You're not gonna miss any meals. You're not gonna miss a beat. I bet you if you talk to most people who are in this income bracket, they would be like, that's fine. There's some who are gonna rail against this. A lot of them would be Congress people, which is sad. But most people making this money are probably in entertainment or something like that. They're probably liberal, and they'd probably be like, that's fine. If it's going to help this country get its ish back together, I'll gladly give 39.6%. I make over $1 million a year. I'm not going to miss a meal. My wife's not going to miss a Pilates class. My kids are still going to go to a top-of-the-line private school. I'm still going to eat whatever food I eat and drink whatever drink I drink. So there's that. Mr. Joseph Biden said he will not raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year. Hear that again. He will not raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year. That's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. If he gonna let it go all the way up to $400,000 a year, well, my goodness. Come on, man. I mean, that's almost $500,000. If you're making $400,000 a year, I would say that you could pay this 39.6%. That's not what he's asking. He said, I'm not going to touch you if you're making under this $400,000 a year. But let's say you're making $400,000 a year and you had to pay 39.6% in tax. I think you'd be okay. I think you'd be all right. You know, I'm just saying. I haven't done the math on it. Y'all do the math on it, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, though, like I said earlier, you know, like I said, I talked about teen suicide rates. Ladies and gentlemen, talk to your kids. Find out what's going on with them. I've seen, I've worked at a high school pretty much all my life. I work at a school right now, right? And I know that that's a touchy subject when it comes to kids. A lot of parents don't even want to talk about suicide and depression and stuff like that with their kids because they think it's going to give them an ideal or something. But I'm here to tell you, kids already got ideas. They watching TV. They listening to Juice WRLD. Some of this emo rap. I guarantee you, they're already, they have friends who have done it. A lot of times it does get glamorized, suicide out here to the youth. So talk to your kids, know what's going on with them, and your kids, they're going to push you away. That's what kids do. But always continue to talk to them. Whatever knowledge I want to drop on my kids, I drop on them, and I do it in the moment because that tape will replay in their head later on. They're rolling their eyes and acting like they ain't listening, and sometimes they not. But later on, that tape will play in their head, and they'll remember your words. So parents, like I said, talk to your kids out there. Drop me a line. Let me know what the kids tell you. You know what I'm saying? Is suicide something that's in their mind? Are they thinking a lot about depression or mental health issues really paramount with the youth? That's what these studies are saying. I believe it is because, like I said, there's a lot of that going on today, man. Especially even in the black community. A lot of black people are waking up to the fact that, hey, I can be religious and also, get my mental health together. Just because I go to counseling doesn't mean that I don't believe in Jesus. So that's good stuff. Let me know where your kids at with it. Once again, give me some pushback. Holla at your boy. You already know how to do that. PhizzEd. That's PhizzEdmusic @gmail. With that said, my time is drawing nigh. Let me go ahead and get right into it. My IPA of the week is a delicious one. Now these guys, Voodoo Ranger, I've had by New Belgium. I've had a few of their beers on here. As you can see right there, it's huge right there. 7%. Alcohol. This is a really good beer. This is their IPA. This ain't the hazy or none of that. It's just a regular Voodoo Ranger IPA. Like I said, it's 7%. I'm trying to read here because they always got a little rundown, a little synopsis of what it is. It's this, it's that, or whatever. They ain't got none of that. Hey, if you ask me, this beer don't need it. This is really, really good. It's a delicious Indian Pale Ale. For those who don't know, that's what IPA stands for. Indian Pale Ale. That is good beer, and it's delicious. I never met an IPA I didn't like, so, hey. With that said, I'm PhizzEd Music. This is Urban Politics. If you enjoy what you've been watching, please, please, please like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell your mom. Tell your auntie. Tell anybody with ears that this show is on and that it's good and that you enjoy watching it and they should subscribe. And that's what's up. And join the Urban Politics movement. Well, that's my time. I'm your humble host, PhizzEd Music. This is Urban Politics, where politics lives. And once again, as always, see you around like a donut.